Shalom. Welcome back to our class on Hanukkah and Christmas, shining light on December 25th. Is it the birth date of Jesus? One of the prominent themes of Hanukkah is the lighting of the candles. There are 9 candles, but one candle is either elevated or separated in some way on this Hanukkah, the menorah. And that candle lights all of the other candles. Shamas means servant. It's the servant candle. What about the origins of the Shamas candle? As we look at this will help us, I believe, immensely in considering what we are trying to determine. Is December 25th the birth date of Jesus? And perhaps even why is it celebrated as the birth date of Jesus? Well, the Hanukkah, it's the Hanukkah menorah, has one candle elevated or separated from the other candles. It's a primary role in each of the 8 evenings. When, where, and why are some of the questions we'll look at with the Shamas candle. Now, what I'm going to share is excerpted from an article titled Hanukkah Riddle, The Elusive Origins of the Shamas by Hannah Weiss, which she wrote on December 22nd, 2016. Was the servant light invented by the first century Nazarenes and then suppressed by the rabbinic community? It's an important question, and we'll attempt to answer that question through the origins of the Shamas candle. And I think you'll be amazed at what we discover. The Talmud, which is the oral law of the Jewish people, in Shabbat 21 through 23, testified that during or after the Second Temple, Jews were lighting Hanukkah lights in their homes. Now, the Second Temple would be 70 AD, it was destroyed. So after the Second Temple. But it goes on, but the passage only mentioned 8 lights, no Shamas. That name first appeared in the 16th century summary of Jewish law, the Shulchan Aruch Haim, pages 671 to 673, applying it to the Talmudic description of an extra light sometimes kindled in the same room with a Hanukkah lamp. So, according to this source, the servant candle, the Shamas, the name at least, didn't appear until the 16th century. Well, with the origin of the Shamas being in the 16th century, it's questionable. And that is because of unexplained archaeological discoveries in Israel. The first discovery was an ancient Hanukkah offered in a California auction. The description indicated a truly historic find. Here's the description. Judea, Second Temple, Roman era, around 70 to 200 of the Common Era, that's AD. Ceramic, 9-spouted Hanukkah lamp with 9 wick spouts in a line along the front and a central filling hole. The decorative motif and general form share similarities to the Beit Natif type, commonly dated to the 3rd century of the Common Era, that's the 200s of AD, or later. However, it appears to be an early transitional form, extending the dating to the period between the Jewish War, which is from 66 to 70 AD, or the Common Era as the Jewish people refer to it, and the Bar Kokhba revolt of 132 to 135 AD, or the Common Era CE. Very interesting. The article said that the first appearance of the Shamas, or the servant by name, was in the 16th century. But here we have, and there's the picture of this Hanukkah, a 9-branched Hanukkah, obviously having a place for the servant candle, the Shamas. It's peculiar that this artifact was even allowed to leave Israel. Dr. Meir Ben Dov, archaeologist and field director for the Temple Mount excavations in Jerusalem, examined it in 1988 and called it, quote, an object of extraordinary significance. It is undoubtedly the earliest Hanukkah lamp extant. It is also possibly the oldest Jewish ceremonial object to have been discovered to date. That was in 1988. Since contemporary rabbinic sources, like the Mishnah, showed no awareness of a tradition that made the Shamas one of the holy Hanukkah lights, we can assume that the innovation was hatched outside their authority. This theory is strengthened by specific elements on this lamp. In other words, since the rabbis say that there's only been an 8-branched Hanukkah lamp up until around the 16th century at least, when the servant candle was mentioned, the Shamash candle, thus necessitating a 9-branch candelabra, Hanukkah. Thus, the source of this, since this find goes back to the 2nd century, must come from a source other than the rabbis. And the theory that it came from a source other than the rabbis is strengthened by what we find on the lamp itself. First is the inscription, with God's help, in Greek. Try to imagine a Greek-speaking Judean community so devoted to God that they celebrated Hanukkah in the shadow of the recently destroyed temple. 70 AD it was destroyed. But they did so apart from the Mishnaic rabbis, apart from the rabbinic community. Only one group comes to mind that would do this: the Hellenist Nazarenes, who had gathered in great numbers around the apostles in 1st century Jerusalem. Check out Acts 6, verse 1. Moreover, the decorations on this Hanukkah lamp, vine scrolls, grape bunches, grape leaves, and the same oil shared by all the lights are images from the New Covenant, the New Testament. John 15, 1 through 8, 1 Corinthians 12 and verse 13. You can look at these verses later. So these images are reflections that this may have come from a New Covenant believing group of Jews, a group who believed in the New Testament. So, is the concept of a shamash identical to the other lights? We find in John 1, 1 through 14, and we find the light that gives light to all men, humbling himself to live as one of us. He lights all men that come into the world. That's found in the first 14 verses of chapter 1 of the Gospel of John. We find the servant coming into the world. A similar archaeological find escaping scholarly attention is an intriguing photo in the 1906 edition of the Jewish Encyclopedia. An undated Hanukkah lamp, quote, found in Jerusalem excavations sometime before the encyclopedia's publication, which closely resembles the Greek Judean Hanukkah that was found. And here again we have a picture of it. It's got a place for 9 candles. You've got the 8th that would be similar, but then you have that one separated for the Shamus candle. A third witness is a portrayal of the other, quote, new, unquote, design, which is a 9-branch candelabra, also dating back to the 1st to the 2nd century. This one was unearthed in the ancient Golan town of Sogana, renamed by local Arabs as El Yehudiyah. The engraving is thought to be from the arch of the town synagogue. No scholar, though, has commented on this appearance of a Hanukkah design that Jews would not use for the next 1,000 years or more. Notice the design. 9 candles. The middle one would be the Shamus candle. This also is in the 2nd century, maybe as early as the 1st century. So although the evolution of the Shamus from profane, common to holy mystifies both religious and secular experts, these tantalizing archaeological clues have provoked no interest in the Jewish world. It's a mystery in itself. The answer to both riddles might be buried in our, Jewish believers in Jesus, unknown history as a community. See, it's perhaps and even likely that 9-branched candelabra, Hanukkah, menorah, with the Shamus candle, came out of the Jewish believing in Jesus world, not the rabbinical world. And if it did, it's obvious that the rabbinical community who rejected the messiahship of Jesus would not accept the Shamus candle, speaking of the servant of God, Jesus. And so for over 1,000 years, they rejected that there was a servant candle. Perhaps the symbolism is undeniable. The Shamus was introduced by Jewish believers in Jesus as a way to celebrate Hanukkah, with the emphasis on the ultimate deliverer, Jesus, as the servant of God. See, in Isaiah 42, 49, 50, and 53, you have those 4 servant passages. There's a whole other class that this subject is looked at in depth. But perhaps what happened is Jewish believers in Jesus, wanting to celebrate Hanukkah, introduced the Hanukkah with a servant candle, that servant candle representing the servant of Isaiah 42, 49, 50, and 53, the Messiah. Our next lesson, we're going to look at some of the lessons we can learn from Hanukkah, which illustrates biblical truth around the Shamus candle, the other candle of the 8 branches that have those same candles, and how they teach us or illustrate to us some very important biblical truths that probably were introduced by Jewish believers in Jesus in the early 2nd century, sometime anyway after the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. Until then, shalom.